Okay, so a little clarification on my last video seems to have angered a lot of people based on the comments, unless, most of them are bots, which very well could be the case. But just in case, I'm going to clarify a little bit on what I was saying. Now, first of all, that was not my opinion. I was literally reading directly from a document, as I always do. I was trying to tell you that there's other people out there thinking the same thing and actually doing quantitative research and trying to prove their original thought, which is what I was working on. And then all of a sudden, I decided to look into it myself, and sure enough, it's not hard to see, and it's in the GameStop report itself. So, I mean, not only am I just trying to reiterate what is already out there, but I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. And if something doesn't seem right, I'm always going to investigate. And that should be how it's done. I'm not going to stop and pretend like something's the way it is just because it will hurt someone's feelings if I say otherwise. That's the problem in this community, or so-called community. That's why we are not one, because no one can properly disseminate information correctly. So you're seeing on the screen right now the narrative that was being pushed all the way back in January. They wanted to point the finger so that no one would blame the institutions for all of the volume that they have undoubtedly and demonstrably been. I mean, they've been trading all year. Look at the 13Fs. In and out, in and out, in and out. Red, green, red, green, red, green, all throughout the year. You got ETFs loading up, rebalancing. I mean, you have to just think, and you cannot go with this narrative from the mainstream. That's all I'm trying to say. Not trying to ruin your day, because there is good news. And that good news is that at the end of the day, the companies themselves are turning around. Both of them. GME is, I'm in GME. Everyone knows my thoughts. I still cover AMC. Everyone knows my thoughts there. It's no secret to anybody. But as far as that is why my critical message to everyone that was misrepresented last night is this. Stop the noise, calm down, be patient, and live your life as you normally would, knowing you have the extra benefit of holding something that could potentially create you wealth. And it doesn't require any hype, doesn't require any work, doesn't require any community effort, it doesn't require anything except holding. It's always been that way since day one. Nothing we can do is going to change this. And the more we try to, the better it is for them, because they get more headlines to write. More and more headlines, more and more fingers to point. They're clearly surveillancing the community. And I know it's, easy to pretend that's not happening, but they're quoting users from Reddit, Twitter. They have been since January, and they're doing that for a reason, because they are inserted into the community, churning narratives left and right. That's why you see FUD being created left and right. It's to distort, and it's been short and distort the entire time. What you're seeing is a very, very intense version of it. And, it's hard to deny when it's everywhere on the internet, except the echo chambers that we all spend our time in, which is listening to YouTubers hype you up and give you false information, because the information they give you is regurgitated from the headlines that you're looking at on the screen. So again, I'm sorry if I disappointed you, or if you think that I'm all of a sudden against what you're against, or what you're for. That is not the case. I want the same thing you want, but I want to get there as accurately as possible. And I don't plan on doing anything like these other people are trying to do in creating a false community that's likely filled with bots and led by false actors themselves. And I just dropped my phone. Shit. But yeah, you just got to pay attention. You open your mind a little bit. Things are not as they always seem to be. Now, some people said that I was only using one article for the last video. I don't know if you remember this, but the GameStop report by Gary Gensler said the same thing. Contrary to what many GameStop investors and other meme stock traders originally thought, the SEC concluded that price moves were not fully explained by short covering, although the infamous hedge funds managers participated in the buying spree, precisely the opposite of what had been discussed on the main Reddit discussion boards. So I'm not saying that retail not being a factor is detrimental. I'm just saying they pointed the finger because they want to blame us in the end game. That way they can't be held accountable for a lot of the price movement that took place. The SEC thinks the same thing. You know who doesn't think the same thing? The media. So it's like, pick your poison. But the data shows, which is shown in the GME report, that the data agrees. So I mean, you can be mad at me all you want. I guess that's fine, but in reality, you should be mad at the data or these news media that are feeding you garbage. So, I mean, that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not against anything. I'm not against AMC or GameStop in particular. I don't have anything against stocks. They're stocks. All I see is growth opportunity, and that hasn't changed. And it wouldn't have changed anyway, despite all of the unnecessary hype that's gone on all year. Because at the end of the day or end of the year, if you're looking back in hindsight, none of that shit worked. So why would any of this other shit work? You know, if we would have been silent, it would have been a lot easier to navigate, right? Short and distort. Who is the most silent mofo, you know, technically by law, but yet has done the most for the community? Ryan Cohen. Who's the only one that can do for the community? Ryan Cohen. So all these other people that are pretending to be relevant, pretending to say this and this, wow that, it doesn't matter. We just wait and it will come to fruition. That is the best part. So, and the even better part is that if the numbers are true about it not being retail, guess what? That means we don't need a community. We don't need to be apes. We don't need to be this group of people trying to overtake Wall Street, because I don't think that's what it is. That's what it wants to be perceived as. So that's my opinion, of course. That's my opinion. Previous video was documented, cited work. I'll link it in this video so you can take a look. But yeah, I mean, it's time we look back in hindsight and start looking at some of the shit that came out back then, because we were all not as aware back then as we are now. And looking back to that time, we can uncover even more now that we didn't know back then that we wish we would have. So that's all I'm trying to say. Again, if you want to argue this, that's fine. Just coming from an emotional standpoint is not the way to do it. Link like a document or something I can read that, you know, shows this, that there was all this volume. That would be great. That's what I want. But emotional arguments, I mean, that's just a waste of time. Come on. Anyways, have a good one.